Tonight, Donald Trump turns his back on Ukraine, a moment in history the world might live to regret.
Roger Cook's four-letter insult for the US Vice President.
The AFL's opening round in disarray. Games called off. 4 million people in the firing line preparing for Cyclone Alfred's brute force.
China's war machine inches closer to Perth.
Innocent Perth drivers in the firing line as a wanted man goes berserk.
And DOCA for life, Andrew Brayshaw's footy career to start and end at Fremantle.
Reporting to Perth for 40 years together. This is 7 News with Rick Ardon and Susannah Carr.
Good evening. Donald Trump has delivered a potentially catastrophic blow to Ukraine by suspending all US military assistance.
The move could now condemn the country to Russian rule. It's also a seismic shift in global security, especially for those who've long considered themselves America's allies.
Thank you very much.
An American president about to turn his back on an ally at war.
Somebody doesn't want to make a deal, and if somebody doesn't want to make a deal, I think that person won't be around very long.
A move that will be viewed as a wartime betrayal and a punishment for President Volodymyr Zelensky.
This country has stuck with them through thick and thin, but he said he thinks the war's going to go on for a long time, and he better not be right about that.
Donald Trump's anger and frustration has been obvious.
You're gambling with the lives of millions of people. You're gambling with World War III.
So have the clues.
But you're either going to make a deal or we're out.
Clearly, he wasn't bluffing. A White House source confirming the president has been clear that he is focused on peace. We need our partners to be committed to that goal as well. We are pausing and reviewing our aid to ensure that it is contributing to a solution. In short, end the war or I will. A gift for Russian leader Vladimir Putin.
He is not interested in ending the war. He thinks Russia is winning.
It also sends a terrifying message to all of America's allies. Just hours earlier, the UK Prime Minister told the British Parliament,
"But to succeed, this effort must also have strong US backing."
But this is the beginning, probably, of the US exit from Europe.
The president is expected to formalise the halt in aid tomorrow when he comes here to the capital to give his comeback speech, his first address to Congress since his re-election. His decision coming after a meeting with his top defence and national security advisors. It means the latest shipment from the US, $1 billion worth of weapons and ammunition, will be stopped immediately in its tracks.
Well, I just think you should be more appreciative.
That's unlikely now. As the bullets start to run out, Russia is reinvigorated and Donald Trump puts America first at any cost.
Now to US correspondent Rob Scott in Washington. Rob, where does this extraordinary decision leave the rest of America's allies?
Well, it's a very good question, Rick, and you'd have to think that if this is the way Donald Trump is prepared to treat a friend when they're in the middle of fighting a war, well, then all bets are off. And of course, this raises some awkward questions for Anthony Albanese. Can Australia continue to rely on its most important and most powerful ally? Awkward questions and doubts which hopefully will be answered when Donald Trump comes here to the Capitol tomorrow to give that address to Congress. Sue?
Rob Scott in Washington, thank you. Now to National Security Editor Tim Lester in Canberra. And Tim, the Prime Minister is now open to sending Australian troops to Ukraine.
Yes, Sue, many here had thought that Anthony Albanese would talk down the possibility of peacekeepers, not leave it very much open. Of course, Australia does have quite a peacekeeping history of Bougainville, Cambodia, East Timor, the Solomons, but those have been regional missions where Australia played big roles. This would be a far-off mission and likely Australia's role would be modest, and there's still a lot of hurdles to cross before a mission is in place. So likely a small role. A spokesman inside the government tells me, in fact, that Anthony Albanese was really expressing his values when he made this statement.
There's discussion at the moment about potential peacekeeping. We're open to consideration of any proposals going forward.
In terms of whether we should have boots on the ground in Ukraine, I don't support that. I think the Europeans have that task.
Our federal election, of course, might be just days away, and the leaders now very clearly on different paths. This could be an issue on which they fight. Rick.
Tim, thank you. Australia has a tradition of outspoken leaders. Bob Hawke called any boss who didn't give staff a day off after our America's Cup win a bum. Today, Roger Cook made his mark with some choice words for US Vice President JD Vance.
If loose lips sink ships, Roger Cook could be reflecting on the AUKUS alliance, which is a very big deal for WA.
JD Vance is a
knob.
A favourable response from the audience of 700 who came to listen to the man most likely to win the weekend's election. Within seconds, he may have been having second thoughts.
Sorry. You've got to have one unprofessional moment, don't you? That was it.
A rare lapse at the end of an hour's work outlining the things that shaped his early years and his vision for Western Australia beyond Saturday. 100% backing from former Premier Mark McGowan.
You think JD Vance is a knob?
I thought Roger was entirely accurate.
But was it loose politics? Was it loose lips?
Hey, honestly, how politically correct are you?
A couple of hours later at a Pinjarra Engineering Works, his promise of $500 million assistance to WA industry was overshadowed with questions of what his JD Vance sledge could mean to AUKUS. The biggest defence project in Australian history, tens of thousands of jobs. When the White House goes after someone, they make a job of it.
Have you said thank you once? This entire meeting? No, in this entire meeting, have you said thank you?
Roger Cook doesn't see himself in that league.
I don't think the people in the Oval Office are listening to a sub-jurisdictional CEO in Western Australia.
Former Prime Minister Kevin Rudd called Donald Trump a traitor to the West and the most destructive president in history. Rudd is now the Australian ambassador to the US and has suffered no ill consequences. Or perhaps the White House just hasn't got around to him yet. Better to be on the safe side.
So I do apologise.
Jeff Parry, 7 News.
4 million people are being warned to prepare for impact with Cyclone Alfred on a collision course with Brisbane. Power is likely to be knocked out for days.
South of the border, New South Wales is on alert too. The storm surge is forecast to dump almost a metre of rain.
Every beach from the Sunshine Coast to Byron Bay may be closed. It didn't stop some. Cyclone Alfred creating 6-metre waves and leaving its mark. That's the bloodied face of Mick Fanning. Stitches needed for the surfing legend as another offered warnings.
It's a bit scary, you know. Hopefully, like I say, it stays off the coast.
Not a chance. Authorities now predicting the Category 2 storm will soon turn west, tracking for Brisbane's northern suburbs or possibly Caloundra.
The overnight modelling shows that the cyclone has firmed.
More than 4 million people in the cyclone zone, 1.7 million homes.
It's obviously a major concern for New South Wales. Tropical cyclone warning that we haven't had in the state for decades.
Already the panic buying has begun. Rice, pasta, bottled water stripped from shelves.
Keep coming, keep coming.
But for thousands of residents, it wasn't shopping bags they wanted filled. It was sandbags, and hundreds of volunteers turned out to dig deep and help.
It's a good workout, and you're helping out people at the same time.
We're doing our best. I mean, let's face it, if a surge comes.
Up and down the impact zone, residents in the race to protect their homes.
So many people here this morning. This is unreal. This is ridiculous.
Got a missus at home that's 9 months pregnant, so...
Queues tailed back kilometres. The wait took hours.
Sometimes you've got to do these things, haven't you?
Alfred expected to make landfall sometime Thursday or Friday, the first cyclone to do so since Zoe in 1974. The warnings today, ominous.
This is going to be a major event. It could be, you know, one of the top 5 or 6 most costly natural disasters in Australian history.
Almost a metre of rain is forecast to fall over 3 days. Lismore braced, still recovering from the devastating 2022 floods.
The Northern Rivers has gone through hell over the last few years.
And spare a thought for the crew of HMAS Choules, dispatched to rescue a solo sailor and now just 100 kilometres east of the Eye. The skipper with a warning for Brisbane.
Yeah, they need to brace themselves, that's for sure.
While on the coast, the calm before the storm, with prayers for a little luck at the end of the rainbow. Chris Reason, 7 News.
The looming cyclone has left the opening of the footy season in disarray. The first game was due to be played at the Gabba on Thursday, but the AFL has been left with no choice but to abandon the Queensland matches.
When Alfred hits the coast, probably late Thursday, experts predict winds of 130 kilometres an hour and 700 millimetres of rain. The AFL had no choice.
And when the Premier got up and spoke today, with the calls that he's made there, it made it clear to us that there was no other alternative than to look at rescheduling the games.
The rescheduled Brisbane-Geelong and Bombers-Suns matches will now be played sometime later in the season. This morning, the two clubs due to play Thursday night still trained as if the game was going ahead. But
it's not a tropical thunderstorm, it's a cyclone. And I've never been in one, so I don't know what to expect. But I've seen the carnage that they've caused at different periods in Australian history.
Well, I'm not exactly sure how you put 30,000 people into a stadium while simultaneously telling people they should stay home and eat tin food.
The Queensland Premier stressed the danger.
It is serious and it is happening. We are taking this seriously. We are asking you to take it seriously.
But left the ultimate decision to the AFL boss.
We'll give him the information and I'm certain they'll make the right call.
A relief for Lions players and staff who can now focus on family.
It's just a game of football. The safety of family and friends and staff and fans is the priority. So that's why common sense has to prevail.
Nick McCallum, 7 News.
With a trio of Chinese warships now off WA's coast, 7 News can tonight reveal the Defence Force was well aware of the Chinese military plan to sail around Australia days in advance.
It's intelligence that was seemingly kept under wraps by the Prime Minister despite a flurry of political attacks.
The PM had questions for this newly elected school captain in Sydney's southwest.
Won an election. Can you give me some tips?
Just have a good speech.
There you go.
But questions soon turned to WA's southwest and the 3 Chinese warships sailing there, about 300 kilometres from Perth. Anthony Albanese was asked if China really did warn Papua New Guinea the naval task group was coming, a fortnight before he found out. The answer was no.
We gave a heads up to Port Moresby.
Government, intelligence and diplomatic sources confirming to 7 News, Australia informed PNG after receiving Five Eyes intelligence outlining the task group's plans several days before it sailed near Australian waters, including its intention to conduct live fire exercises before doing a lap of the country.
I have absolutely no doubt that the Department of Defence knew exactly where these warships were.
Sources confirming Defence did, mobilising continuous air and sea surveillance with New Zealand. But still, Australia learnt the live fire exercise was underway from a passing Virgin jet.
This Prime Minister had no idea about the presence. He didn't know what to do.
Senior sources tell 7 News Anthony Albanese had known about it for weeks. He just didn't talk about it publicly, respecting intelligence rules. On Sunday, saying this.
What we don't do at press conferences is relay what intelligence information the Australian government receives.
We live in a geopolitically very sensitive area. We live in fluid times.
Heading north, the Chinese ships should soon pass Perth. James Carmody, 7 News.
Libby Metham spent today picking holes in a health system she's referred to as an unfolding disaster. The Liberal leader was spruiking her plan to alleviate WA's elective surgery wait list and pledged to guarantee. She's promised that operations will happen within a medically recommended time frame.
Partnering with day hospitals, with private hospitals, to ensure that if a patient is at their clinical boundary, we will ensure that that surgery happens or takes place in an alternative public or private facility.
There's a lot of surgery that we could be doing. There are 25 hospitals, both rural and metropolitan, in Western Australia that could be helping.
If she clinches the premiership, Libby Mettam claims 10,000 additional surgeries will happen in the first 2 years of her government.
The Pope's seesawing health has dipped again badly. He's been put back on a ventilator to help him breathe. Europe correspondent Ben Downey joins us live from the Vatican. And Ben, what caused this latest setback?
Yeah, good evening, Sue. Well, over the past 24 hours, the Pope suffered 2 acute respiratory failures caused by a build-up of mucus in his lungs. He had suffered one and recovered, only to immediately suffer a second. Now he requires a machine to help him breathe. Now, his doctors say this is caused by the double pneumonia, the reason why the 88-year-old is in hospital in the first place. And despite having a peaceful and restful night, they're reluctant to reveal whether his condition is critical or stable, only saying that it's complex. The reason why, well, he keeps suffering these setbacks that are only becoming more frequent now. Originally, it was thought the Pope could be out of hospital by the end of the week. Now the Vatican is saying any talk of a timeline is premature because he is far from out of danger. Rick?
Thanks, Ben. Tonight we can show you a heart-stopping vision of a high-speed pursuit in Perth South. The Mercedes flies through Rockingham, Warnbro and Secret Harbour on the wrong side of the road. Lucy Murray reports.
Speeding and on the wrong side of the road is the last thing any driver wants to see. The Mercedes SUV is coming head-on and fast. A blue sedan stops dead in the right lane, the Mercedes missing it by millimetres. For 2 hours yesterday morning, Kieran Kelly was allegedly spinning out in our southern suburbs. In Secret Harbour, the driver pulled into a cul-de-sac, running out of options and wheels. Taken down like he began, in the middle of the road. In his dash for freedom, the driver allegedly left behind crucial evidence. In the Mercedes, police found a handmade firearm, ammunition and a meat cleaver. Kieran Kelly faced the Rockingham Magistrates Court today for a string of offences. The 25-year-old was remanded in custody until next week. Lucy Murray, 7 News.
Sam Jolly joins us now, and we had our first rain in a long time, Sam.
We haven't seen a drop of rain in the Perth gauge, Rick, for more than 5 weeks. The showers started in the early hours of this morning. We recorded 2.2 millimetres for the city. Unfortunately, this caused dozens of pole-top fires across Perth. 40,000 homes were left without power, and it caused traffic problems this morning as well. Some of the hardest hit suburbs were Morley, Balga, Beachborough and Thornley, but it stretched right across the metro area. Around 9,000 customers are still waiting for power to be restored. Pole-top fires happen when light rain mixes with dust or pollution on the power poles. And the rain was from a weak cold front that passed over the south of the state this morning. The showers didn't last long, but the clouds stuck around and we had a cooler than average top of 27.3 degrees. That was quite late this afternoon. Despite our mild start to the week, the heat will be back from tomorrow and there's a scorcher on the forecast. I'll have the details after sport, Rick and Sue.
Thanks, Sam. The extent of the Inspired Home saga revealed.
Millions of dollars in assets and a tangled web of different companies. Next, building starts again, but it's not desperate customers set to benefit.
A Perth teenager's courtroom confession over a crash that killed his friend.
Named and shamed, Australia's top companies still paying men more.
Also, an alarming statistic about how many Australian children will be obese in the future.
And later, scam alert, the foreign syndicate targeting Perth retirees.
Local games, local commentators.
A 17-year-old boy has pleaded guilty to manslaughter and dangerous driving over a fatal crash that killed Nick Campo. The young footballer died and 5 others were seriously injured in the late-night crash in Northlake last July. The accused driver appeared by video link from Banksia Hill to enter his guilty plea. The teenager has spent 3 months behind bars after asking for his bail to be revoked as a show of remorse over the accident.
Well, he's just distraught because there's no winners, and he's obviously coming to terms with the fact that he's caused the death of his friends.
I mean, today is a step in the right direction for justice for Nick. No amount of sentencing or jail time will ever make what happened to Nick okay.
The 17-year-old driver will be sentenced in May.
Tradies were back on inspired home sites today and appeared to be hard at work progressing builds.
But instead of welcome news, it's a shock for stranded customers because the buildings being started again are state government owned.
Hard at work in Hamilton Hill. Tradies on an inspired home site should be welcome news. But for stranded customers, it adds insult to injury. This is state government land.
Sick. Totally sick inside. Totally sick. And all our group are the same. We're victims, total victims, and we're getting nothing done.
There are more than 60 inspired homes that appear to be abandoned across Perth, leaving customers like Martin with no answers. Development WA's 115 Hamilton Hill project seems to be the priority, and this morning the Premier wasn't sure why.
Yeah, I will get some detail and I will make sure I'm briefed on this. That doesn't pass the pub test. We want those customers who have been waiting the longest to be served now.
The permits for these properties were issued less than a year ago, and according to neighbours, the slabs went down just before Christmas. That is startlingly fast progress when you consider the more than a 4-year wait other customers are enduring. The public faces of inspired homes are Vaz Spazesky and his wife Danielle, but their interests run much deeper. According to records, between them they run 12 businesses, and it's these groups that own at least 18 residential and commercial sites across WA. 4 more homes are in the family name, including multi-million-dollar properties in beachside Waterman's Bay. Late today, Development WA released a statement stating its Project 2 had experienced a number of delays. It undertook advanced financial risk assessments of inspired homes, with independent advice confirming it met financial requirements.
We are all angry and frustrated with the lack of progress.
They've been investigating this for 10 months. 10 months. Yeah. So that 10 months, that's a $25,000 mortgage just down the drain.
Alice Murray, 7 News.
Thousands of people have had to flee and dozens of homes destroyed as Japan grapples with its worst forest fire in 3 decades. It follows record low rainfall and the hottest summer on record. At least 1 person has been confirmed dead. The fire has scorched more than 2,000 hectares in the country's northeast. Around 2,000 firefighters are on the ground working to smother the flames.
2 people have been killed and dozens more injured after a driver ploughed into a crowd in the German city of Mannheim. Security cameras captured the car being driven at speed towards thousands of people. They'd gathered for parades to mark the start of the carnival season. Police swiftly arrested the driver, a 40-year-old German citizen. They believe he was acting alone, but his motive isn't yet known.
Cars have been washed away in Spain's normally idyllic Canary Islands. All this raging water on holiday hotspot Gran Canaria was caused by a sudden storm. Many had to be rescued, but remarkably, there are no reports of people missing.
A Joondalup woman on trial for murder.
Up next, she stabbed her partner in the heart. What she says drove her to the edge.
One of Perth's most notorious underworld figures laid to rest. Who was there?
Markets rattled as Donald Trump doubles down on tariff threats.
The movies that studios are banking on to get audiences back to the cinema.
And later, the new scammer trick you won't believe. Exclusive details.
Want to find out who has the best footy brain?
Let's do this. Footy tipping with The Game. Thanks to Tab Touch, the top tipper wins $50,000.
It couldn't be easier. Just sign up, tip, and bask in the glory.
In your dreams, Abby.
It's game on. Sign up now.
One of WA's most feared underworld figures has been laid to rest. Craig Christian was facing drug charges when he died last month.
Senior Mongol Troy McCanty was among mourners who gathered today. Nick Overall looks back at Christian's life.
One of Perth's most notorious bikies bids farewell to a central figure of the city's underworld. Mongols veteran Troy McCanty today among mourners at St Kieran's Church in Chewett Hill, where friends and family paid their respects to Craig Christian. A former boxing coach who provided his muscle to Perth's underbelly, Christian had been under the eyes of police for decades.
I'm pleading not guilty because they're a fabrication.
facing charges over drugs, extortion and the death of 21-year-old Philip Morrison, who fell and hit his head in Leaderville more than 30 years ago. Christian admitted to causing the fall, but claimed he was acting in self-defence. He was also a known associate of Northbridge Identity and long-time police target John Kizon, who was seemingly absent at today's funeral. Since 1994, Craig Christian's name and connection to Perth's underworld have been notorious, something that continued right up until the end. Just 2 years ago, he was still fighting charges of drug trafficking. It's understood the 60-year-old died from a heart attack at his Wanneroo home last month. A life as elusive as it was infamous, now laid to rest. Nick Overall, 7 News.
A Joondalup woman who's accused of murdering her boyfriend says she stabbed him through the heart in a frantic act of self-defence. Lauren Brown was 8 weeks pregnant with the couple's child when she allegedly landed the fatal blow.
Lauren Brown admits she killed her boyfriend. The 28-year-old says she stabbed the father of her unborn baby through the heart in an act of self-defence. But police call it murder. Prosecutors say she's anything but a victim, painting a picture of a controlling girlfriend who tracked James Shea's movements via his phone and once kicked a door down to get to him in a screaming rage. The trial heard that she snapped inside the couple's Joondalup apartment in September 2023, angry that Mr Shea was on the phone to a mate before making the fatal blow. She's also accused of pepper spraying and biting him, then hiding the knife and lying to police. Brown allegedly told neighbours, police and paramedics Mr Shea attacked first, that he kicked her in the head and back, pulled her hair and punched her. The court heard there will be no witnesses testifying they ever saw Shea be violent towards her. Lauren Brown hasn't always admitted to inflicting the fatal blow. The trial heard she told a family member and police James Shea stabbed himself. Aligned prosecutors called a story made up in a panic. Cassidy Moscone, 7 News.
Police are on the hunt for a gunman who fired multiple shots at a home in Swan View. He stopped a dirt bike outside a property on Curtin Way before shooting at the window 6 times on Saturday night. A 42-year-old man who was home took cover but wasn't hurt. 2 cars outside were damaged. Police say they weren't known to each other. Anyone with information is urged to contact Crime Stoppers.
Hollywood is launching a marketing drive designed to lure fans back to the big screen. It comes after millions tuned into the Oscars.
But movie buffs say there's a big difference between movies that win awards and those that work at the box office.
These are the movies Hollywood hopes will bring audiences back to the box office, many tried and tested formats. From Superman to Jurassic Park and Snow White.
You'll be safe from the Queen here.
Over 300 films will be released on the big screen this year, studios banking on remakes and reboots to get audiences back to the cinema.
But it is a tough market. Ticket prices have jumped 17% since 2019, while the time it takes for something to go from the big screen to home release has gone from 90 days to as little as 30 days for some releases.
But the industry remains positive.
We've got a heap more titles releasing than last year. We've got a constant slate of films coming through and we're seeing audiences come back in droves.
Hollywood's hoping the Oscars act as a marketing campaign, reminding us why we love going to the movies.
Where did we fall in love with the movies? At the movie theatre.
But films celebrated on Hollywood's Night of Nights are often not the ones that sell seats.
The ones that are so popular for Gen Z, they're never at the Oscars.
If something had won a lot of awards, it might make me go.
Hollywood's banking on it. Sally Bowery, 7 News.
Can you believe almost $320 million was lost to scams last year?
Those aged over 65 are falling victim the most. Up next, how they're going next level in their shady tactics.
Wonder Drugs, the boom in weight loss medication sales.
Plus, Dolly Parton mourns the loss of her husband.
And coming up in sport, not going anywhere, Andy Brayshaw and why he's committed to Freo. Plus, the Eagles bring back an old favourite and the Wildcats fight for a spot in the NBL Grand Final Series.
Now, Fuel Watch. Perth's petrol prices brought to you by Fuel Watch and 7 News.
Hello, live sporting events made us big spenders in January. Retail sales rose 0.3% as consumers ate out while watching the cricket and Australian Open. The gender pay gap is getting narrower, but not by much, with women still earning just 78 cents for every dollar earned by a man. And a steady supply of weight loss drugs has helped lift telehealth startup Eucalyptus's revenue from $78 million to $121 million. On the markets, the ASX 200 slipped today as Donald Trump doubled down on his tariff threats. That also caused the Australian dollar to slip below 62 US cents. And don't bank on another interest rate cut. The minutes from last month's RBA meeting show the board intends to tread carefully.
Scammers are going next level, even sending couriers to elderly people's homes to pick up cash. It's one of several new ways people are being conned, and police want to hear from any victims.
It looks like any old ATM, but this machine is the scene of a crypto crime.
It's becoming very challenging to understand what potentially is a scam.
A woman in her 60s invited to join a money-making scheme on social media, coaxed into coming here to invest $300,000. That money now gone. Police also investigating a pop-up message urging a woman in her 80s to call Microsoft Cybersecurity. She did and gave the scammers remote access to her computer and her accounts.
We believe that these notifications come to at least if not more than 50,000 devices a day.
Almost $320 million was lost to scams last year, over 65s falling victim the most, handing over almost $100 million. Investment scams the most popular trap.
These are highly skilled operations.
Possibly the most alarming was a scam involving a woman in her 90s who received a call from a man pretending to be from the Commonwealth Bank fraud team. He convinced her to withdraw several $1,000s and sent a courier to collect it from her house.
That does take it to a completely new level.
A new campaign urging Australians to stop, check and, if in doubt, reject. Amber Laidler, 7 News.
Dolly Parton's husband of almost 60 years has died. The country music legend met her longtime partner, Carl Dean, outside the Wishy Washy laundromat in Nashville when she was only 18. He would inspire her hit song Jolene, but he shunned the spotlight throughout their life together. Dolly announced his death in a social media post saying, "Words can't do justice to the love we shared." Carl Dean was 82.
Have you ever wondered what going supersonic looks like? Well, this is the XB-1 jet that's just been photographed breaking the sound barrier. This never-before-seen image shows the jet creating shockwaves as it goes faster than the speed of sound. And there was no audible sonic boom. NASA is hoping the test flight can help speed up the return of supersonic air travel that's much quieter. An urgent health warning for families. Perth children at risk. The grim obesity prediction. How to stop it from becoming a reality. Don't miss that story soon on 7 News.
But first, Ryan has sport. Ryan, some great news for the Dockers.
Certainly is, guys. Andy Brayshaw, he is not going anywhere. The Freo star has signed on for the long haul. We'll hear from him next. Plus, music to your ears. The Eagles bring back an old favourite. And the Wildcats put their season on the line in Melbourne. Andrew Brayshaw will be a Docker for life, with the Fremantle vice-captain signing a new 6-year deal. The star midfielder knocked back interest from rival clubs with the intention of helping.
Brilliant finish by Brayshaw. I've always wanted to be a one-club player, and
I feel like now I can finally say that that's going to happen.
The 25-year-old signing a 6-year contract extension with the Dockers, which will see him at the club until the end of 2031. Throughout the re-signing process, Brayshaw has been adamant he wanted to remain at Freo and help lead the club to their first ever premiership.
First couple of years have been really tough, and I'm just starting to see some of the success that I think we can have, and I wouldn't want to miss out on any of that. So I think the next 6 years is going to be an amazing time to be a part of the footy club, and I want to be right there, riding every high and every low.
Brayshaw is just the latest of a long list of players to commit long-term to the club, including Caleb Sarong, Hayden Young, Luke Jackson, Sean Darcy, Brennan Cox, Shea Bolton and Josh Tracy.
When you see a player that you love playing with show faith in the club and re-sign it definitely gives you a boost, and I'm hoping that the boys today will be pretty excited once they hear that I've signed on as well.
Brayshaw was drafted by Freo with pick 2 in 2017. He's now an All-Australian, Doig medalist, and was named the AFL's Players Association MVP in 2022.
The young star gets the one they're after.
The star midfielder is gearing up for another big year, set to reach the 150-game milestone. Freo's season kicks off in just 11 days against Geelong. Anna Hay, 7 News.
When the West Coast Eagles run out this season, fans will hear a familiar sound. A recent members' vote has seen the return of the old club theme song. In recent years, they've used this one, a Birds of Tokyo version. Now they'll bring back the old favourite that goes like this.
We're the Eagles, the West Coast Eagles, and we're here to show you why.
Meanwhile, Elliot Yeo remains 6 to 8 weeks away from a return. Young gun Elijah Hewitt will rejoin the main training next week after a freshen-up period. He remains a good chance for round 1. Cyclone Alfred has seen the league postpone the 2 opening round fixtures in Queensland. The Brisbane and Geelong clash is likely to be rescheduled for round 3. The Gold Coast and Essendon fixture is still up in the air. Jordan De Goey has been ruled out of Collingwood's season opener with the Giants on Sunday. The star midfielder has suffered knee bruising during the pre-season. While Jesse Hogan has also been ruled out of the clash with a broken thumb after he jammed it in a door during the week. We're at the pointy end of Kane Corns' countdown of the top 50 players in the competition, and tonight he reveals his number 1.
Well, let's get straight into it. At number 5, I have Melbourne star Christian Petrarca. Now, a season marred by injury and controversy didn't prevent Petrarca from staying amongst the game's best 5 players. He's a beast in the contest, capable of breaking tackles and posing a major threat when deployed inside 50. The Norm Smith medalist is primed for a big 2025. At number 4, it's Geelong's Jeremy Cameron. In a league dominated by midfielders, Jeremy Cameron stands out as the competition's best forwards. Chris Scott allowed him more freedom last season, giving him a chance to roam up the ground, lose his matchup and still impact the scoreboard. He registered a career-high 392 disposals and still kicked 64 goals. Isaac Heaney is at number 3. He was one of the most dangerous and devastating players in the league last season and so well-rounded. He won nearly 12 contested possessions, 6 clearances and kicked 34 goals as a forward. He's got the ability to exploit midfield opponents by drifting forward and using his outstanding aerial ability. We're at the pointy end now. He's just been pipped, but Marcus Bontempelli, last year's All-Australian captain, was once again dominant in 2024, securing his 6th best and fairest. He spent more time forward. He kicked a career-high 32 goals. He's strong overhead, he's tough in the contest, and he's renowned for his decision-making and rarely wastes a disposal. But at number 1, it can be none other than Pies superstar Nick Daicos. Daicos was prolific as a midfielder last year. His midfield numbers were extraordinary. He averaged over 30 disposals and nearly 8 clearances a game. He's the most dangerous player in the league when he's streaming inside 50 and delivering it inside or either kicking the goal himself. He kicked 20 of those last year, 38 Brownlow medal votes last season, and Nick Daicos has solidified his place as the AFL's best.
I agree. The Perth Wildcats season is over after going down to Melbourne United by a point in Game 3 of the semi-final series. It came down to the dying moments. With 4 seconds remaining, Perth were down by 3 points.
One last chance. Wagstaff. Goal! The 6-time NBL champion with one of the biggest shots of his career. Extraordinary. Are you effing serious right now?
There was heartbreak to come though. United won it at the free throw line after Ben Henschel was called for a foul. Chris Goulding with the clutch make. Christian Doolittle was outstanding for the Cats, finishing with a career-high 37 points. Melbourne United will now face the winner of the Illawarra Hawks and South East Melbourne Phoenix semi-final tomorrow. Australia and India are tonight fighting for a spot in the Champions Trophy final. Australia won the toss and elected to bat first. WA's Cooper Connolly was given the call-up to open alongside Travis Head, but was removed for a duck. Head made 39 off 33 balls.
Oh, lovely shot, clear square leg. Typical Travis Head.
The Aussies are 3 for 121 after 24 overs. Justin Longmuir joins us tomorrow night, guys, for an in-depth chat. Big year ahead for the Dockers, potentially.
Look forward to it. Thank you, Ryan. Parents and grandparents are being warned tonight that unless urgent action is taken, half of all Australian children will be obese by 2050.
Experts are now calling for immediate government intervention.
More children than ever are facing a crisis that could last a lifetime, with a new study revealing that in 25 years, 2 million Australian children and adolescents will be obese, a further 1.6 million overweight, young women most at risk.
Between 1990 and now, overweight and obesity has doubled globally, and the rates of obesity alone have tripled.
Experts warn the next 5 years are critical, and without immediate, large-scale policy changes, children could face a lifetime of serious health issues. The Murdoch Institute recommends the government introduce taxes on sugary drinks, ban junk food advertising, and pay for healthy meals at school.
And it would be terrific to see our political parties come forward with some really clear thinking and plans around how we as a society are going to, better address overweight and obesity in children.
GPs say the most important thing is having access to a doctor to be able to monitor your child's health. And with many families unable to afford healthy food options, they say education is key.
We need to not be fat shaming the next generation and actually really motivating them towards a healthy lifestyle because it's fun and because it's good for them.
Jennifer Beshwati, 7 News.
Sam Jolly's back and it's not over yet. It's heating up, Sam.
Well, the milder days have been nice, Rick, but we are back in the 30s tomorrow and we have a scorcher on Thursday. Details next.
4 years ago, but so much has changed. Election night, political power up for grabs.
And as each seat falls, the 7 News Powerboard brings you the results first.
WA Decides, live on 7.
Hello, we finally had some showers today, our first in 5 weeks for the city. The rain was from a weak cold front that passed over the south of the state this morning. We recorded 2.2 millimetres in the city. The showers didn't last long, but the cloud stuck around for much of the day. And we had a cooler than average top of 27.3 degrees. That was quite late this afternoon. Right now it has dropped back to 22.5 degrees. The winds are southwesterly at 13 kilometres an hour. And looking around the suburbs today, Bullsbrook also recorded a couple of millimetres of rain, but most suburbs only got a millimetre or less. Perth Airport was our hotspot with 29 degrees. Similar for Ellenbrook today. It was only 23 along the coast in Hillary's, and we had a top of 26 for Rockingham and Baldivis. Taking a look at the national forecast, wet and windy for Brisbane as Cyclone Alfred bears down. Sunny and 30 in Canberra tomorrow. Showers are easing in Sydney, and it's looking warm and sunny in Adelaide with a top of 31. And around WA tomorrow, Marble Bar could get to 45 degrees, 43 the top for Exmouth, 30 in Kalgoorlie, and it's looking warm and sunny in Bunbury, 33 the top, and quite windy for Albany. On local waters, we'll have easterly winds 15 to 20 knots, turning south to southeasterly in the middle of the day, and then east to southeasterly in the evening, seas to 1.5 and the swell peaking at 2.5. So we're getting down to 16 tonight, then a sunny top of 34 degrees tomorrow, and we have an autumn scorcher on Thursday, a low of 24, so a warm night before a top of 38 degrees Thursday afternoon, cooling to a sunny top of 30 on Friday. And for the weekend, a mostly sunny 29 Saturday. We have a partly cloudy 31 Sunday, sunny and 32 on Monday, 34 next Tuesday. Before I go, the Joondalup Festival kicks off March 15, and you can check out what's happening at joondalupfestival.com.au. Now for tonight's winning Oz Lotto numbers, they are 19, 9, 21, 17, 45, 35, 29. The sups 27, 28 and 36. Those numbers are 19, 9, 21, 17, 45, 35, 29 and the sups 27 and 28. Rick and Sue.
Thanks, Sam. That's 7 News. We'll be back with updates throughout the evening.
And for the latest stories, head to 7news.com.au. Have a great night here on 7.